I was born August 26, 1923 in Canton, Ohio, at 1111 Park Avenue, Southwest. The house is still standing, and the garage that my father and grandfather built in the back is still standing. Moved away from there when I was 10 years old. But at that time, I was able to see the McKinley home up in the park when I was a child. And so 2 years later, when they tore the McKinley home down on January 30th, 1935.
Not for this event, but in spite of it, citizens of Stark County began to move toward a season of preservation. 11 years later, after the Great Depression and the Second World War, on April 9, 1946, a group of civic-minded citizens of Stark County, Ohio, met in Memorial Hall of the Central YMCA in downtown Canton, Ohio. Their original plans for a Canton Historical Society were changed when Oliver Kuhn, County Commissioner, spoke at the YMCA's annual meeting in February of that same year. He made two bold statements that would change everything. First, he said, there should be a group that preserves buildings, relics, and historical materials. Second, this group ought to become a county historical society, whereby under state law, the county commissioners could appropriate a limited amount of funds for a group of this nature. These historically and educationally minded friends seized their opportunity, chose Paul E. Smith as their temporary chairman, E.T. Heald, secretary, and Donald K. Merwin, Articles of Incorporation Committee chair. Two important items were accomplished in the second meeting held again in the YMCA. The Constitution was submitted and approved, and Mrs. Lauren Sowers, representing the DAR, was appointed to nominate the trustees at the next meeting. The Articles of Incorporation were filed with the Department of State in Columbus, June 5, 1946. Incorporators were Paul E. Smith, E.T. Heald, and Donald K. Merwin. The Stark County Historical Society was born on this day. The first meeting of the trustees was held in the grand jury room of the courthouse, June 17, 1946, at which time the first officers were elected. Paul B. Belden Sr. was elected president, Paul E. Smith vice president, and E.T. Heald secretary. The charter membership was closed on this date at 109 members. The Society's first objectives were to research the collection, publish a bulletin, and inaugurate a radio program. These activities, which won a citation and certificate of award from the American Association of State and Local History, all happened within 15 months of the beginning of the Historical Society. Office space was donated to this burgeoning society in the Canton Public Library. The challenge was where to store the collection of donations they were receiving. Thanks to Wendell Herbrook, president of the Stark Federal Savings and Loan Bank, a vault was donated for the free use of the society in which to store the collections from 1946 to 1957. The old Altman Harder mansion, known as the Harder Annex in 1954, had two rooms which were provided to the Historical Society by the county commissioners. Today, the Canton Cultural Center is located on these grounds. Perhaps the first and largest exhibition of the collection of the Stark County Historical Society was on display at the new City Auditorium during the city's sesquicentennial celebration in 1955. The other high water mark for the Society that exceeded all expectations was the pageant known as Canton-O-Rama, performed several evenings at Fawcett Stadium to a crowd of 44,000. In 1958, the Society began conducting business over the Willie Music Store at 603 North Cleveland Avenue. Finally, this group of citizens found a place to call home at 2677 North Cleveland Avenue. This former home of Carl Arnold of Arnold Funeral Home was known as the Hoover Price Memorial, after Harley and Mary Hoover Price. Ground Turned for History Center was the headline in the Canton Repository on Thursday, July 26. The day before, these friends with a vision to preserve Stark County history met at the base of the McKinley National Memorial. The initial turning of the earth was done by Paul B. Belden, President, and Dr. Robert K. Ramseer, Chairman of the Capital Funds Campaign and the Society's Building Committee Chair. Attending the groundbreaking ceremony were men and women who were instrumental in the success of the fundraising campaign and for the progress made by the Historical Society since its organization in 1946. Also in attendance were Stark County Commissioners and the Executive Director of the Ohio Historical Society, from whom the building site on McKinley Memorial property was leased. George Deal, trustee of the Society and a representative of the Timken Roller Bearing Company, who pledged $100,000 at the start of the campaign, and Harry Everhart, construction representative on a volunteer basis and donor of $20,000 for the auditorium. All in attendance knew that this was the beginning of something amazing. The citizens of Stark County, whose vision had been realized after a short 16 years, celebrated yet another milestone in the life of the ever-growing Stark County Historical Society.